everybody, this is Alicia, also known as AVP, and tonight I'm joined by my fiance, Jack, and we're going to be discussing some more Orville. Episode 8, Midnight Blue, from
Got
season
two more
3.
left.
Oh, I know. It feels like we just got started. Oh my goodness.
I
What
know.
happened to the season?
It went by too quick.
Way too quick. Way too quick.
For as long as each episode is longer, it still went by too quick.
Way too quick.
That last episode, the one we just were talking about tonight, was an hour and 26 minutes, and
Yes.
it's like wow.
Hey, Chloe, good to see you, girl. So, yeah, this was definitely a movie, epic proportions in it. Yeah, we got a lot of happening in this one movie. I want to call it a movie because it was more of a movie than an episode because so much happened in it.
Mm-hmm. It starts off. I noticed that they start off with a little bit of the comedy, right? They always before they get into the seriousness.
Mm-hmm.
So, the first scene is Kelly. She's in the dining room. What do we call it again?
Yeah, the mess hall. She's in the mess hall waiting for somebody. You can tell she's waiting on somebody.
And then Bortus comes and he's like, I'm sorry for being late.
Yeah, so he just downs the upsada. He get this upsada.
Kelly has an upsada for him, and he just downs it. Yeah, and he's like, sometimes it's much easier fighting the Kalon than it is being a father, or something like that.
Yes, it is. He's making that comment. I'm like,
right.
What's going on, Bortus? What's going on? What's Topa doing to you?
And he goes, he thinks that she's infatuated with a boy. Don't know who.
It's not a boy exactly.
Yeah.
It's a boy, but not a boy, if that makes any sense.
Right. So.
I thought at first it was going to be one of Claire's sons that she's got a crush on, specifically Marcus. I thought maybe it was going to be Marcus, maybe.
Right.
No.
But so, Bortus asks Kelly to talk to Topa about it. And so Kelly goes to Topa and gives her advice about just go talk to them, go ask. And so she brings up her courage and she goes to engineering and she goes to Gordon and she's like, I would like to have dinner with you. And he's like, oh yeah, we can have dinner. Yeah, I'm sure you need some advice or something. He doesn't get it, right? Meanwhile, Lamar is looking at him like, what is he doing? Dan's like, I'm not sure this is a good idea. Even Yaphet's giving him a weird look,
Mm-hmm. Everybody's like, oh no.
And then she clarifies. She's like, you have a lot of feminine features that I find attractive. That's why, and I'd like to have dinner with you. And he goes, suddenly it's like, I gotta switch this up. And so he says, hey, don't worry, don't worry about that. You're like a little sister to me. I will do everything I can to protect you. If you ever need help, I'm always there for you. I promise.
Yes.
And she at first she's like sister, but then when he says that, she feels a little better. She's like, all right, well, I got to get to school. And so she takes off, and then everyone teases Gordon over it.
Yes, they do.
They got Dan and Yaphet, teasing him.
Mm-hmm. But it's, you can tell they obviously care a lot about each other if they're willing to tease each other about that kind of thing too.
Well, it's camaraderie. It's camaraderie.
Mm-hmm.
Dan says something like, "Well, he is attractive, isn't he?" And then Yaphet looks at him, at Gordon as he's walking away. He goes, "He's better going than coming."
Yes. But I'm glad she handled it well anyway. Even though he says thank you, but no thank you, Topa. That's hard. I'll say that much for a female when you open up to a crush and say how you feel.
Right.
And to be semi-rejected. It's not completely a rejected because I won't call it rejected because he just says thank you, but no thank you right now.
A, she was way too young for him.
Mhm. Exactly. She is way too young still.
Yeah, so yeah. Um, but yeah, so after that, uh, there's a meeting with the one of the admirals, and the admiral's like, "Hey, we got to do our annual inspection of the Mocklin female sanctuary."
Correct.
And so, like, the Mocklins are supposed to do their inspection at the same time, so they're expecting Mocklins when Mocklin males when they go down there. Because the Orville is familiar with all this, they're the ones going.
Right.
Specifically, Kelly and Bortus. And so Topa learns about this and goes to Bortus. And is like, Papa, yeah, I heard you were going to the sanctuary. He's like, that's correct. He's like, can I come with? I've always wanted to meet a Mocklin female. I wanted to meet Havina as well. And at first he's a little hesitant, but then Kelly kind of like coaxes him into like, oh, she'll be fine. We'll keep an eye on her.
Right. And he says, if it's okay with the captain, sure, we'll go. You can come
Right.
along with us, basically.
And so um, Kelly, Bortus, and Topa are on the shuttle. They go down. They land.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we got some beautiful views of the
Beautiful
way the
views.
sanctuary looks. Yes.
Yes, beautiful views from above. And then they land, and there's another shuttle. It's a Mocklin shuttle, and these three Mocklins have just finished their inspection,
Mm-hmm.
and so they're talking to each other, and then Topa kind of like peeks out of the back, and they're like, "What is that?" It's like, "She is my daughter." He's like, "Disgusting thing," and like it looks like Bortus is gonna step up and say something, but then Kelly's like, "Bortus, come on, come on."
Like, chill out, dude.
So they go to the sanctuary, and it's thriving. It's actually thriving.
Yes.
It feels like almost like a Renaissance village.
It does. We see
Yeah.
some of the females that they had ran into from the last time they were there at Sanctuary, because I think one of the ones that had her weapon drawn at Bordis and them before we basically see her again.
Hmm.
Because I think because Bordis makes the comment like it's good to see you again, kind of thing to that effect,
Right.
basically.
Right. Everyone says it's good to see each other again. Everyone's actually very happy to see each other. Um,
Yes.
they get escorted to Havina's uh, home, whatever.
Her cabin, yeah.
Her
And she's
cabin.
got a whole wall devoted to her beloved Dolly Parton. And we hear her jamming out to 9 to 5.
So, yes, as soon as you open the door, you start hearing 9 to 5 like full volume.
Yes. And
and,
Jessup.
and yeah, and like you walk by a wall, and there's hey Jess, you walk by a wall, and there's a whole mural to to Dolly Parton. So
Yes.
how you doing, Jess?
Good
I'm
as
doing good. I'm tired, but I told Alicia earlier. I said if I'm 5 by 5, I'll be here. I'm a little late. Wife and I were having time together, so I lost track of time.
Happens.
we understand.
But no big deal. This, I swear, I did not think they could do better than Tale of Two Topas. But
I mean,
I'm going to say this. I'm only going to say this. Oh, this episode really pissed me off. And I'm not saying in a bad way, but a certain character really pissed me off because of what they did.
Mm-hmm.
Chutopa.
No, not him, not the torturer.
Oh,
Anyway,
Havina.
we're fathers.
Hmm.
She put a child, a daughter, in harm's way, put her at
Yes.
risk, abused her iconicism. And Ed said it best. She idolizes you. She would have said yes to anything you want. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but I mean, that I literally was kind of like, from military perspective, you and I can understand why she went the way. From an oppressed kind of people, I can understand.
Sure.
But I can't justify putting a child in danger like that.
And that
To
was a
me,
mistake. Yeah, that was a
and I
mistake.
understand she was, well, anyway, let's get to that. We'll get to that
Right.
later.
I,
Sorry.
d- I do
Right.
know. Yeah, like in the end, like even when she tries to apologize, Bortus is like, not
Uh
having it right now.
I'm actually I'm very glad of his response.
Yeah,
But
I get his response.
by the way, I will say this, spoilers to anybody that's seen it. When Clyden showed up, I started to cry. And when we get to that point, I want to tell you why.
Okay, okay, all right. So let's go ahead and move on.
Right. So Topa finally gets to meet her idol, Havina. And we also find out about these Luminites that are going to be appearing over at the night. They're sort of like
Right,
fireflies and they're multicolored, but there's a rare one that they don't see that often is the blue ones.
right. There's actually before she starts propositioning her. There's actually a very sweet exchange between the two when they
Yes.
first meet, and then when they're outside with the Luminites, and she gives her the necklace with the
Yes.
stones in it. Like I thought that whole part was very sweet, very lovingly, and then of course then she propositions her.
Yes.
I think that whole thing was both a state of strategical ability and ignorance and oppression. Which, when you combine all those together, yeah, that's a lot of weight.
Right, right.
Mhm.
So she gives her this necklace, tells her about the Luminites, explains about the rare blue one, and then she takes off, and then suddenly a blue one appears.
Yep.
And I'm not exactly sure if this was like a real blue luminite or if it was somehow being controlled or something like that, because it starts going a weird direction away from the other luminites, and Topa, just starts following it, not
Right.
not not realizing, oh my god, I'm getting away from. It starts following it, and then she even gets to hold it, and then she starts hearing like someone's out there, and so
Right.
she hides.
That's interesting, Jack. I did not think that it might have been designed that way. I mean, I thought for plot point, sure, but not for design. Like they
It
might
just
be.
it just
No,
felt
that's a good thought.
yeah, it just felt like, I mean, that one like just moving away from the other ones and just like leading
Right.
And the
leading
fact that it was
Opa
blue,
exactly where these people were waiting for
and the
her.
fact that it was blue, and that Havana said those are the most rare.
Yeah,
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So
remember, to Topa, Havana's words are gospel, for
yes,
lack of a better
Yes.
term.
Exactly,
yes,
because she's a hero worship over her. So yeah, she's gonna do whatever she says, basically, and accept it.
yeah. And that's what she did. She's like, I will help you. Um, and then she gives what she does is, you don't hear this, but she gives her the name of the contact in their contact in Moklis, and then the frequencies of how to contact them,
Mm-hmm.
and then takes off, and then that's when the Luminite leads her away, and then she's hiding, and then suddenly someone grabs her.
Right.
Yeah,
And
and I will say this.
mhm.
Some people say, how'd they do that? Well, how'd they know she told them? They're Mocklins. They have advanced weapons technology. Are we so ignorant they don't have advanced communication technology?
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right. So, I mean, yeah. So they know that she knows this information, and so they take her,
Mm-hmm.
um, and they go back to their ship, and they fly away.
Now,
And
think about this real quick, Jack. Sorry to interrupt you there, but think
fun,
about this. Why did they kidnap Topa? One, Topa wasn't part of the colony. Two, she had the information and they were taking her to a black site. She was the perfect deniability for them until later.
yes, exactly. And so yeah, so they take her, and then at one point, Bordis is like, "Where's Topa?" Uh, and then everyone starts looking for Topa. Everyone in the
Right.
village starts looking for Topa.
Exactly. You hear all
Uh,
this saying Topa, Topa.
and then Kelly finds the necklace. Apparently, she drops the necklace when she gets kidnapped, and so they take the necklace back. Or no, they give Havina the necklace. They take it back to Havina and it's like, hey, explain what happened. Um, and then she explains, but she leaves out the fact that she told her this information. Uh, Other than that, she basically told him what happened, and she herself doesn't really know what's going on, and so Bordis has like surmised that okay, they've taken her and they've the ship is gone, so they've taken her somewhere. So they go to their ship. They realize that something about the ship's broken, but they could still
Right.
fly. So
Exactly.
yeah, so they fly up and they start following the ion trail of the other ship. Rather than go back to the Orville, they start yeah just following that other ship. And so
Um, I think they
No,
did go back briefly because they brought Havina because they had to bring her to the ship for Ed to say what happened to Topa and everything like that. And that's when
no,
well,
they did not.
well no,
No,
what happened
remember,
was
Bordis and Kelly did not go back to the ship. They
that's
went.
sorry.
Remember, she asked, "We can either go to the Orville, we can go look for Topa. What do you want to do?"
That's
Bordis
right.
looks at Kelly and it's like, "Okay." I'm thinking, what do you think a father's doing right,
mhm.
thinking right now?
No, that was very predictable what Bordis would have chosen. But so yeah, so they take off after the ion trail. So meanwhile, Ed is kind of out of the loop, and so finally they're like after like the ship never came back or whatever, the shuttle never came back. He makes the decision to go
That's
into the nebula. Now this technically breaks the treaty, but they're like he's like my people are missing. I got to figure out what's going on.
mm-hmm. That's
So presumably from there, like I guess he goes down to they don't show this, but presumably from there they go down to the planet and they pick up Havina and bring her back to the ship. I think that's what happens. And so that's
yeah,
when you
that's
see
right.
on the ship at that point. And Ed is kind of grilling her a little bit, like, hey, I really think you're holding something back. If you are, please let me know. We got to save Topa. We got to save Topa. Um, and so she tells him the truth. To her credit, she tells her the truth. And then, of course, Ed gets mad. Is like, why the hell did you do that? Uh, you know,
What the hell were you thinking?
what the hell were you
Putting
thinking?
She,
this kid in
yeah,
danger
when she says,
unnecessarily.
"Excuse me," I'm thinking when he said, "What the hell were you thinking?" She goes, "Excuse me."
Mhm.
She's actually confused why he's pissed.
Yeah, yeah. She's confused because she's still thinking about her cause, right?
Mm-hmm.
She hasn't. I don't think it's hit her at this point that Topa is missing and in danger.
Yes.
So so like there's a back and forth. There's like an argument between the two,
Yes.
and
Exactly.
when the scene ends, like they leave. There's tension between the two. There's like they're angry with each other.
What
Very.
happened there was she's trying to justify her cause, and he's saying, "No." When you bring it, basically, he's saying, when you bring a child involved, that's where I draw the line.
Right.
And from a military perspective, that's Middle Eastern shit when you bring children into war.
So, but yeah, like so it was so like she was so not thinking about the consequences at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, and then so So she's like in her quarters or whatever. She's just chilling in her quarters and whatnot. They did say, we would like you to stay, for more questioning. He's like, if you insist, so.
Yeah, and meanwhile, we see what's going on with Topa. Her captors are basically saying, "Shut up," because she's asking a lot of questions. Take me back. I don't know what's going on, and they're just basically saying,
She's a
"Girl,
scared
shut up."
child.
Yeah, she's scared. She's asking a bunch.
Very scared. She's terrified.
At one point, they ask her, were you this annoying before they cut off your whatever the Mocklin word for penis was? I don't know, but and then he goes, the next time you speak, the next thing you'll lose will be your tongue. I was like, ooh, shit.
Yeah, it went really creepy there
And then
with it.
she got very quiet after that.
Mm-hmm. She did. She didn't say any other words.
Yeah.
But then we have the whole Havina thing, and they said the captain has requested you to go to Simulator 1. There's something that we want to show you. So she has a special surprise waiting for her in the Simulator 1.
Yes.
Spoiler.
So she the doors open and it's a cabin. It's a wooded cabin.
Mm-hmm.
Very humble, very small, very humble looking wooden cabin.
Where at, Jack?
In Tennessee.
The Smoky Mountains of Tennessee.
Smoky Mountains.
And then the door opens.
Yes.
And who shows up?
It's Dolly Parton, folks. It's
Dolly
Dolly Parton herself.
And if I'm correct, they de-aged her a little bit to make her look a little younger.
Yes, they did.
A little bit, yes, they did.
Yes, they did.
Because she looked.
Actually, Jack,
very,
I saw Dolly Parton do it. I saw Dolly Parton did a tweet, and said they made her. Basically, she talked about, I'm amazed how they made me look. And, I think she was talking about the aging because I'm like, holy shit, this is Dolly Parton. She looks like, I don't know, 80s, 90s Dolly.
Right.
Yes.
Definitely not 2020 Dolly.
No.
No.
But it was just like actual Dolly Parton, but then they like de-aged her, to make her look, I don't know what age, but younger. And of course she's just like, hey honey, welcome to the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. I don't remember exactly what she says, but she's very sweet. She's very homely. She's very country.
She's very Dolly.
She's very Dolly.
She's a Southern lady.
At one point, Havina's like, "You're not real. You're not the real Dolly Parton." And she's like, "I'm programmed like her in every other way, so I'm all Dolly," or something like that.
Something like that, basically.
I'm still all Dolly, something like that.
Well, what she said, what it basically was she said, well, your computer programmed me this way, but so I may not be real, but I'm still all Dolly.
The
way you said that, when she said, I'm still all Dolly. I mean, when Havina got, get up, girl. I'm not all that. I'm not even sure I'm all here. I'm like, oh my God, that is Dolly Parton doing tea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and now a little behind the scenes thing. Tom actually explained how they filmed that scene because, well, this was during the height of COVID. They literally filmed Havina's part in Los Angeles, and they filmed half of that room. They built and filmed half that room. Then they built and filmed the other room, the other half of that room in Tennessee for Dolly Parton's role.
Yes,
and then they put everything together.
No shit.
Yeah.
So they never actually were in the same state.
They weren't.
You would not know they were not on stage together.
They took. There's a picture of them all together, and I'm assuming it's like photoshopped or something like that.
Possibly.
Because they show like that test footage from Tennessee that they shot. They shot that first, I think, right from. And it wasn't the actress who played Havina. It was just like some lady in the Mocklin headpiece.
Right.
Yeah. but like it almost looked like Claire and then Mocklin headpiece, to be honest.
She could have been like
Actually,
a
funny
stand-in.
fact, the actually interesting fact that you mentioned that, Jack, the woman who plays Havina
Hmm.
auditioned for the role of Claire.
Ooh, interesting.
I'm not surprised, but I'm glad she was given another role.
Yeah, I mean, I think Claire is perfectly cast, and I think Avena's perfectly cast. So I think that's perfect casting.
Mm-hmm.
I
I mean,
agree.
they did the same the same thing happened with Marvel with Tom Hiddleston. He applied or he auditioned for Thor, and then they gave him Loki, and he was perfect for that. And
Yes.
Chris Hemsworth was perfect for Thor. So
Right.
yeah,
Exactly.
so
Yeah, they did a great job. And can we just? I've got to bring this up.
mhm.
The visual effects are goddamn
They're
gorgeous.
so
They
good.
are.
I
They're
go.
wonderful.
I went back and before I watched this, I went back and watched About a Girl, and the and like you can tell they added so much more detail to the Orville, the ship itself, from between episode or season one and season three.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a lot more of that etching that you see that like you would see like on the inner like different types of enterprises and stuff like that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then of course they upgraded the interior as well. So like the bridge itself is upgraded. They got all that extra panels in the back and stuff like that. The red alert is just like it's all red now. Like and they're smart enough to where like when you're watching them fight like dog fight like in space and stuff, the bridge is actually red while everything else is their normal color.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Kudos on them for that little detail. Um,
I,
Yes.
I thought the whole Blue Nebula and all the stuff in it, I was just like, oh my god, this
oh
is
god, that
just
was gorgeous.
It
beautiful.
was beautiful with the purples and all. Oh,
I mean, it
yes.
was beautiful when you first saw it in the first season, but then they like enhanced it. Like, oh my,
Mm.
I I wish I saw that episode on IMAX.
You want to
Oh,
see
you
every
know
episode
what?
now.
Maybe not the whole episode, but a few scenes of the scenery. I mean, my goodness.
There's a,
That was just like visual porn to its max.
it was so good, and you know, Jess, that I did see I did see the first episode in IMAX,
Yes, I remember you telling me about that.
and
I'm still
I was
jelly
so
about that.
I was like after that I was like spoiled by it. I was like like suddenly like this screen seems so little. You know what I mean? It's like I wanted to watch every episode in IMAX after that because like it really does. You miss out on stuff. I've noticed you miss out on some stuff visually, but So yeah. Anyway, so Dolly gives her some advice, and
Yes.
the advice is paraphrasing something like, um, if you as long as you do the right thing at the right time, things will usually work itself out.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what she said.
What
Basically.
Um,
what what was? Oh, sorry, Alicia.
No, that's fine.
What I found was very interesting about that was the way she did. She goes, "You're not real. I know what Captain Mercer is trying to do,"
right. True.
and
She
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 says,
talks her way.
you know,
She comforts her.
she just does a little bit about herself and talks to her and says, "Well, I heard you have the weight of the world on your shoulders.
Hmm.
I did this and it. Oh, yeah, that's pretty." But she didn't, you know,
Judge her.
judge.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And she's like, you know, she just, you know, when Ivana says, "I don't understand the parable," she goes, "It's not a parable. It's just a story." But then she goes into,
Yeah. There's no meaning.
if you do the right thing, the future has a way to work itself out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Something
And
like
then
that.
she just said, "Do you mind if I do a song?"
Hmm.
And that was it.
About her own childhood too, with the kerosene too, when she lost with these toes, an incident where her toes got cut and stuff
Right.
like that.
And that's where she was like, I don't understand the point of this parable. She's like, well, there is no point. It's just a story.
That's when she goes into the transitions into the song, which I believe
Yeah.
is an original song.
But like you do see Havina, like her guard goes back down. Because
Right.
at
She
first,
saw.
when she walks in, her guard is up. So when she sees Dolly, she's like, "I know what he's trying to do." But then the way Dolly just has a way to talking to you, just comforts you, just makes you like relaxed. You know,
Mhm.
There's something about a little southern charm
I'll
that
agree with you there. Yep.
even apparently crosses species. Because let's be honest, she didn't try to change her mind. All Dolly did was just tell her a little bit about herself and said, if you do the right thing, things have a way of working out. And then she said, at least that's the way my mama taught me.
Right.
That was the key point right there. And then she went into the song.
That was a
And it
beautiful
was
song.
just so casual how she did that. She was just so casual. She's like, oh, you got to wait. And I think the song part was a way to kind of really tell her, it's like, I'm not here to change your mind. I'm
Right.
simply here for you.
Right.
And I want you to do the right thing, but I'm just going to give you some comfort right now.
Hmm. Yeah,
That's
and that
what
was
I
good.
got out of it. And as the song is going on throughout that moment, and she's like, I'm going to talk to the council. I'm like, yeah. Dolly has a way of doing that.
Yeah, I was very happy that she changed her mind. I was I was really afraid I was gonna be like that. She was gonna be like the baddie in this one. Like, oh man, I hope they don't make her the bad guy here.
Right.
Um, but they don't.
Uh,
I mean, they. I mean, she makes a mistake, but she does her best to redeem herself.
Right.
So I can. I mean, if that was my daughter, that would take a lot. That it would take more than that to for me. But from just an outside point of view, it's like good. At least
from a tactical point of view, from a military point of view, you and I get that. As fathers of children, yeah, no.
no, yeah, I would be Bordis. I would be Bordis, where it was just like, don't even try to apologize. I don't even want to hear it. Um, but yeah, like so so yeah, so she goes to Ed's office and she's like, I will testify. And so they set course for Earth.
Right.
And I think meanwhile we go to back to
Where Topa
Topa.
is, where she's being captured. So there's a lot of these long corridors. It's almost like a maze the way it's laid out because there's a lot of long hallways and everything like that. And they tell her that you see this shadow figure basically says, if you give us the information, all will go well if you give us what we want.
Hmm.
And you see this very disfigured Mocklin. He's
He's
obviously
at
missing.
he's missing an eye, like, and there's like a piece of skin over his eye, like an eye patch, which I thought was kind of gnarly.
Yes. And the only thing in that room is a chair. And he
Yeah.
offers her water. And I'm like, are you sure you want to offer her that water?
I knew what he was doing at that moment. It was like, oh, he's playing good cop for now.
Mm-hmm. He's trying to be
Yeah,
nice.
both. Yeah, he was playing good cop at that moment,
Yeah.
and we knew what was coming. Look, I knew what was coming next, and I was like, I want to kill this guy.
It was like
Once
I
I
was.
saw, once I knew, once he, not his face, not it wasn't his face, but
Mm-hmm.
once he offered her the water, I was like, I want to kill this guy right
It was like
now
I knew exactly what. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I knew
Mm-hmm.
exactly
because
who
I
he
knew
was.
what
Yeah,
was coming.
and I was
Because I
pretty.
knew what was
I was I
coming.
was I was pretty sure there was like there was going to be the slap, the initial slap coming.
Because you
And
had the because you had the water as the carrot and the slap as the stick.
right, he gave them one, and then he asked politely once. She lies. I think he kind of asks again.
He
And then
does.
she lied, and then he like immediately after that, and then at that point, that's where I was like, Bortus is gonna kill someone.
That's exactly what you said. That's exactly what he said.
Yeah, yeah. I was just like, oh, Bortus is going to.
Heads are going to roll.
Yeah, Bortus. You know, you know, like remember when remember when Duras killed uh, uh Alexander's mother?
Yes.
That's what it reminded me of. And then, of course, Worf was like, you know, I claim vengeance. That was my mate. And
I
then he kills
claim the
Duras.
right. He claims the right of vengeance.
Yeah. And then he kills Duras, which makes Martok the Chancellor, I believe, at that point.
No, you're getting a little ahead of yourself. You're thinking back in
Gowron.
DMG. We're talking. You're talking. Gowron was DS9.
Oh, fuck. I don't know then. I can't remember which one it was then. But it reminded me of that situation.
Hmm.
It reminded me of that situation where there's some similarities there. Whereas, like, when he sees what he's done, what that man has done to Topa,
Are we
and
going
he,
that far ahead?
yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll get to it. We're
Right.
almost there, actually.
But so the council is basically these Mocklins that are there in the council that kept denying that they know anything that's going on because basically Havina's pleading saying, we want this child back. If you know where this child is, please help us find her. And those other Mocklins that are there in the council area, they keep denying. We don't know what you're talking about. We don't know
They're
what you're talking
literally the ones that kidnapped her. By the way,
about. Mm-hmm.
literally the three that kidnapped her.
Exactly. But they keep denying we don't know where she is. We don't know where she is. I don't know what you're talking about. This Havina and her crew probably took her somewhere. Even though they didn't,
Right?
obviously.
They kept trying to defer the blame to Havina because she did break the treaty, but she's admitted it. And so now there's like, well, she's an admitted criminal. Like you should be like investigating her, not us.
Right.
I
Now
like
Ed's
what
there.
Gordon did. I like what Gordon did because
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
now
I'm gonna
Gordon's
be
there.
honest.
Yes, Gordon's there. Gordon's attending because he's supporting Topa. During this
yeah,
whole thing, he's there. At first, he's silent,
yeah. He
but then
actually,
eventually he
yeah,
speaks
like
up.
when he asked Ed to join, he was like, you know, like why he's like, why do you want to join? He was like, you know, I have a personal
She's like his sister,
she's like my little sister. I have a personal thing for her safety.
Vendetta.
And Ed's like, okay, come on now.
So,
and
so Tala's in charge of the ship. Yes.
when the whole thing is going on, they're in the thing, and he kind of scoffs. I'm gonna be
He's
honest, as Jack probably knows, and trust me, my personal thing, I've done that before in military meetings, and they look at me and go, "You got something to say, human? Yeah, we
Right.
need to call you out for your bullshit."
yeah, and he
Mm,
does for a little bit, and then Ed has to like, hey, Gordon, shut up.
Well, the thing
yes.
was, even Ed, this was a moment. I
He,
mean,
Ed,
this was a moment where
Ed let some of it slide at first because he was like,
yeah,
they
but
agreed.
remember, Ed did this.
He did,
Don't
yeah, you're right. He did. He was
because
like,
he
and he
called
said,
him out.
and then he said, I know I'm not supposed to say anything here. That's why he was like, that's why he was addressing Ed's little, you know,
Hmm.
Yeah,
and
and the point is, and we've known this throughout the season. Everybody's so afraid if we lose the Mocklins, we lose their capability. But so they always were giving them a pass, and the Mocklins are always taking advantage of that.
exactly, and that's what Gordon was calling them out on. And then at one point he was like, "So screw you!" And then that's when Ed was like, "Hey,
Gordon,
Gordon,
stop it.
Gordon, enough." And then he does shut up at that point. But like
Right.
you know, not before like that. Screw you. He's like finally, you know, Which
He
is like
said what everybody in that room was
everyone,
thinking.
everyone agreed with Gordon. It was just that he was the one who said it.
Yes.
Yes.
Everyone
Hell,
else
we
was
all
trying to.
agreed with Gordon.
Everyone else was trying to be diplomatic. Gordon finally called it, and then when later on, when what happens, everyone else calls them out on it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So so going back to Bortus and Kelly, I think we haven't gone back to them for a while.
Right. So they eventually arrive on the planet where Topa is at, and
Right.
they found these dark suits, almost like a wetsuit, but it's like for rock climbing kind of thing.
Right.
And
It's like, you know how
Tactical
Discovery
suit.
likes to suit up every time they go down to a. Yeah, it was kind of like that, but they actually did it right this time. Yeah.
Bortus jumps over.
It was basically a tactical suit.
Yeah,
Right.
tactical suit. They got weapons. Bortus had like brought on without Kelly's permission, but now
I
Kelly's like,
love
good
that
job.
part too.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know you disobeyed orders by bringing these weapons. Yes. I know.
But yeah.
Good
yeah.
call.
Good job or something like that. Yeah, good call.
Something like
Yeah.
that, yes. But yeah, he jumps over. Kelly, you think she's getting ready to make it? No, she slips a little bit and she messes up a ligament in her shoulder.
Yeah. And then so Bortus has a contraption. He puts it on her shoulder. This will heal, a little bit. And so at this moment, something a little strange happens. So she actually starts to apologize to Bortus because she feels like it's her fault. Bortus didn't want Topa to come along, but then she had convinced him. And then Bortus is like, you shouldn't blame yourself for that. What happened. That's not your fault. You are as far as I'm concerned, you're part of my family. And then I'm not exactly sure. There's a moment where they start staring at each other.
So he's
Yeah,
like,
that was very uncomfortable.
it was awkward, very big. Because he says,
Yes,
you mean a
that's
lot
a
to
good
both
word.
of us. Both of
Yes.
us. Because he says,
Yeah.
we've missed you since Clyden's been away. And he says, you mean a lot to both of us. I'm like, wait, us?
And then then they start staring at each other. And I'm sitting here like, are they gonna kiss?
I remember that.
No, I was in.
I was like, oh no. I was like, Kelly and Bortus?
Are they gonna kiss? And then beep,
I was
the thing is
losing my mind.
the shoulder's
That was
healed.
the moment I was like, please no, that would ruin this moment. I was like, this is awkward enough.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. That reminds me of like Worf and Deanna Troy, which I never was really behind with.
It reminded me of Han
You know
Solo
what I
and-
think it was at that moment? You know what I think it was at that moment? Bortus doesn't have Clyde now. Kelly doesn't have Ed. And for a split second,
They thought about it.
moment. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That moment, and it's, yeah. When you're an outsider, it looks uncomfortable, but they had that particular moment. But they finally realized, okay, this is stupid.
Well, yeah, no. As soon as her shoulder healed, like they moved on. They didn't even go back to it.
Right.
So like they get in, they beat up this one Mocklin. They get into the facility. Meanwhile, you go back to Topa, and Topa's
she gets tortured by this
She-
cruel death stick.
well, before that, like she was like getting slapped around still,
Right.
and then the torture. Now she's all bruised up, and the torturer is like, "You were brave, foolish but brave." And then he goes in the back, and that's when he pulls out this
The
pain stick.
krill weapon.
Yeah,
Yes.
we called it the pain stick, like a Klingon thing, but
Yeah, that's basically what I thought too.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
so
it's got multi levels. I mean, yeah, we've seen that one in Nothing Except in the Fishes when Talea, when she was in Janal form, when she was being
Okay.
tortured.
Right. And so, and so he explains what it is, explains like what it can do to your brain, and then starts using it on her.
Yeah, first
By
it's
the
on the
way,
low.
I just want to say this.
Mm-hmm.
I had a Roomba that has been a pain in my ass, and I was watching that episode and watching Toba get tortured by this guy. I was like, this fucking thing's broke. I want to throw something, and I threw my Roomba out
You threw your
of my house,
you
and
threw
I
your
let it break. I was like, this fucker is already broken. I want to throw something right now.
Oh, you okay? It's already broken. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
I was like, I was
Like,
No,
about to
no,
be
it was already defective. I just threw
Okay.
the fucker because I was like, you're already broken. I'm pissed off because what I'm
okay because
seeing.
Roombas are kind of expensive.
they are. They are.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
well, it was a piece of crap, but still,
Okay.
I was like, I'm sorry, but just as the dad of 2 daughters,
Oh no, that was. I mean, that was upsetting to see. That was really upsetting. Even for a fictional thing, it was just like, wow.
yeah,
Um, yeah. So like he starts using this pain stick on her, and they're in the facility. They're very close. And then they're like, female Mocklin biosigns, hurry, hurry. She finally like gives in. She finally gives in. It's like, stop, stop. I'll tell you. I'll tell you. And you don't see her tell them, but the next scene is like the supervisor comes in. He's like, she's giving us the information, and the supervisor is like, okay, kill her and dump her body in this valley.
Mm-hmm.
And right after like he gives that order, Kelly busts in like he's like, "Oh no, you don't," or something like that. And then I think they kill the supervisor, or they shoot the supervisor.
The supervisor escaped into one of the shuttles, kind of thing. They had to chase him
Okay,
down.
he fucked off, and then like I know Bortus immediately goes to Topa, hugs her.
Well, first he nearly kills the guy for hurting, injuring
Well,
Topa.
well, no, not yet, not yet, not yet. He like
yeah.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
yeah, he goes right to Topa's like Topa, and then like as he's hugging her,
And he looks at her,
he
and he
looks.
looks at him.
Mhm.
Did you do this to my child?
Yes.
And I was like, you're
That's-
fucked.
I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it.
Yep.
And then of
And
course Kelly's
Kelly
like,
is all about trying to get them out of there.
yes,
And
she's
Bortus is not thinking like a commander right now. He's not thinking
Exactly.
like a lieutenant
He's gonna-
commander. He's
angry.
thinking as a father who just watched it, who now sees his daughter who's been abused by this guy. And he just goes on. And you see that look. Look, we have seen Bortus be the paragon of almost just the straight man.
yes.
But the thing is, when a straight man loses it like that, you're fucked.
Yeah, so Kelly does try to get him to like go, and then there's that shot. It's a very famous shot that like everybody does. It's like, and you know what's going to happen afterwards. It's like he's about to leave, but then they have half of his face, and then the other half is the guy who's laying there, right? And his face just changes to pure rage.
You know what it reminded me of, Jack? Bill Bixby when his eyes went green.
There we go. And so like he like turns around and just like grabs the guy and like punches him a little bit, and then he grabs the pain stick and he fucking stabs it into his other eye and fucking Kelly is like, Bortus, get out of here, that's an order. Finally, when she says that's an order, he stops and he gets
Yes.
up. That's when he like
No, he did not. He
He's
did
his
not
commander.
stop on purpose. Yeah,
Not on
but when he
purpose.
looked at Kelly though, after he did that, when she goes, "That's an order," and he looks at her, that look in his face is like, it was almost, "Who the fuck do you think you are, telling me what to do?" He
But,
was.
I mean, like he was still. I think he was still mad at him, and then like when he looked at her,
Mhm.
like that was the look that he was giving the guy, but then he does
Yeah,
change his
I understand. Oh yeah, I totally agree with that, but really, it was like Kelly was telling them to run, and he's like, I want to kill him. Why are you trying to stop me?
Well, yeah, of course, yeah. Like I was expecting like he was gonna kill him, but then he doesn't kill him. He just leaves him completely blind.
Mm-hmm.
He
Which I
maims
thought was poetic.
he maims him. Yeah, I thought it
Yeah,
was
which I
I
thought
thought it
was
was,
poetic.
I thought it was poetic too. But then it made me realize he still has that information, so he's still probably going to give that information to a supervisor, and they're probably still
Yep.
going to uh, kill whoever the Mocklin contact is and
Mm-hmm.
take advantage of that frequency.
That's a possibility.
So now the um the climax. I think this is more of the climax here, right? Where they 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 take Topa back. They actually fly all the way back to Earth for this tribunal that they already knew was probably happening, right? Um, Not a tribunal; it was a hearing or whatever, investigation or whatever,
Meaning,
council meeting. And so like the Mocklins are doing the same thing they're doing now. They do make a good point. They end up making a good point about this lady violated the terms or whatever, and but you want, instead of investigating her, you want to investigate us, even though we have been abiding by the agreement. How is that fair? Something like that. So they make that, and then a lot of the alien council members are looking at each other like, it's a good point. They're discussing it, and then suddenly the doors open, and in comes Bortis, Kelly, and Topa. And and Kelly first talks, and she's like, "Hey, we just saved Topa from this Mocklin black site, and this is what they did to her. She has refused treatment, so that you can see what they have done to her." And then Bortis like has the most like emotional part in this entire show, and it's so he does it so convincingly, where it's like he's he's still angry. He doesn't know how to feel. He still wants to hurt someone, but he's like, he brings in Topa, and he's like, they were planning to kill her. Like his voice starts to break, and you can really feel it. Like,
yes, you can.
yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah,
can.
and um, he's like, somebody must pay for this. Like, he fucking, like, when he says that, it was like, someone must pay for this. He like screams it out because, like, what
You
else are you
must
going
pay for
to do?
your crimes.
Yes, you must pay for your crimes. Like, of course, like, like, he was so emotional, but you know why. And it's like everyone suddenly everyone looks at each other again, and then they start discussing again each other. And then the next thing you hear is a meeting with the admiral, uh, Ed and Kelly with the admiral, and then he announces that the Union has kicked Mockless out. They have expelled Mockless,
Mm-hmm.
Monkless, you're fired!
See you on the 12th of
and
November.
yeah, so that's the end of that relationship for now. Um, and then the next scene is um, Topa in sickbay getting treated by Claire.
Right.
Oh, and the tissue part comes in.
Yeah, and
Yes.
then uh, Tala comes in, and she's like, There's someone here to see you.
And
She
I
doesn't,
was hoping. I was so hoping.
and it's Clyden. It's Clyden. It's last time we saw Clyden, he looked Topa right in the face and said, "I wish you were never born." And I remember like my reaction to that, I was like, well, if that's how he feels about it, then he can fuck the fuck off. I'm glad he's gone.
Right.
But I also, but after everything that's happened, seeing him again, I was just hoping that he learned his lesson. That
Yep.
because I was always like, I really wanted him to be redeemable until that moment. You know what I mean? After until that, like, I wish you were never born. After that, I didn't care. But
What that situation, why that moment was so powerful for me when Clyden showed up is back in 2014. Something bad happened with my daughter, and I acted out of emotion, and I did not act out of judgment. And I sent my 14-year-old at the time away for almost a year. I realized I made a horrible mistake in what I did. And I put her in a bad position because of my choice. And I begged her to forgive me when I saw her, when I picked her back up. And like Topa, she was just happy to have her father back.
right, and so yeah, so she, so yeah, so the moment you see Clyden again, Bortus looks at him with suspicion at first until Clyden says, "May I speak with her?" Her. The first time he actually used the correct pronoun.
Yes.
And so Bortus allows it and he goes in and he has like a very emotional I'm
Breakdown.
I'm sorry. Yeah, redemption. Or it's just, I thought I hated you, but I never wanted harm to come to you. I am sorry. I was wrong. I let my bigotry, whatever, blah blah blah. Blah. And then the last thing he says is like, "I am proud to have you as my daughter."
Yes.
And that was also fuck, dude.
That really hit home.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. As a father of two daughters, it was like, yes, you fucked up. You're owning it. You are a man.
Yes, I agree. I agree. And you know what? Like, I'm glad. Like that's great. That means that broke family is now come back together.
Now
That's
it's time
good.
for them all to heal.
Yes. Yes. Remember, Clyden still has to get past some of his bigotry. Um, but otherwise, I think it'll work now. Like I don't think anyone's going to be stabbing each other further
No,
anytime
he
soon.
apologized for his. He even admits he's sorry for his bigotry too. I mean,
He did.
he-
That's why I was just
Yes,
like,
he did.
yeah,
Well, he said, you were almost lost because of people who thought like I did.
yes, yes. He said that, and that's
mhm.
You were almost
that really
murdered by
that
people who
fucked with him.
thought
Yeah,
like me
yeah,
because
that
of my
fucked with him.
bigotry. We have to remember, Clyden was born female and surgically altered without his consent.
Hmm.
And he was very traditional Mocklin, and we know the story of
Yes.
how he found out about it and everything.
Right.
And he really, I watched something a little while back where it said, he's a traditional Mocklin, and
Mhm.
he knows that if Topa does this, Topa will be shunned. And in some ways, Klein is ashamed of what he once was.
Yeah.
And Klein didn't want to accept it because his culture told him that what he was wrong. So he believed it. And, well, children change perspectives, for
Oh
lack of
yeah.
a better term. Because I grew up, family is always first.
Hmm.
Family comes before politics, family comes before religion. That was really, for 90 minutes, that was that moment when Klein showed up and said that. I was like, oh my God, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it made me break down and cry. I mean, so most of you know I had a very broken relationship with my own father. Well, 2 weeks before he died, he actually did what Clyden did. Came to me and says, I'm sorry. You never caused me any harm. You've been nothing but a joy to have as a child. And so to hear Clyden say that kind of thing, it was reflecting on what I went through in 2009. And unfortunately, that reconciliation was very, very short, but it happened. I did get reconciled. Not everybody has that privilege, unfortunately, but I'm glad Topa's getting that. I'm glad Borders is getting that reconciliation. And I'm glad that now he's working on healing his relationships with others, even Kelly, which is going to be reflected in the very end scene where
Right.
they're all
There's
having
one more
dinner
scene.
and he invites her to come in and join them for the dinner instead of just saying,
Well,
go away,
well,
Commander.
yeah. No, sh- if you remember in the beginning of Tale of Two Topas, they were having dinner. Kelly comes in. Um, they invite her to eat with them. Well, Bordis invites her to eat with them,
Right.
and but Clyden's very snippy at her. Now,
Mm-hmm.
juxtaposition. Uh, Clyden's back. The last scene is they're having dinner. Kelly comes in. Uh, she comes in to welcome Clyden back to the Orville, and then Bordis explains that him and Clyden have renounced their Mocklin citizenship, so now this is their home. And so she says, "Welcome home." And um, this time it's Clyden who, first of all, first explains. Bordis has told me like the bravery you've shown when saving, when you saved Topa, and I thank you. And she accepts. And then he says, "Would you have dinner with us, please?" And she accepts. And it's very gracious this time. It's not snippy. It's not, oh, this female is near me. And it's not that anymore. It's this this person has who has saved my child. Saved my child's life. Who with the help of my mate, saved my child's life. While I was fucking fucked off because I was gone being angry and bigoted.
No,
Yes,
you nailed it right there.
exactly. And Topa makes the comment, says, I know you like spicy food, Commander, because they had that thing of the when they were back of the female sanctuary that she likes spicy food, and they're like, oh,
Yeah,
you're a
that was
so,
the foreshadowing there.
Nice little
yes,
callback. And
yes.
that's how the episode ends, I believe. I don't think there's anything else
It
after
Yeah,
is.
that.
that was pretty much it.
It was. It
That
was
was
beautiful.
an hour and 26 minutes. All that shit happened.
I thought
Yes.
it was amazing. I really did. I
I,
cannot, in good conscience, though, justify Helena's actions.
sure, of course, she fucked up. Like that's her mistake. She's gonna have to find a way to make it up to Bordis and Topa and Clyden.
Well, when she said, "I'm very sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me,"
Yeah,
and Borges said to her, "That is a reasonable assumption."
and then
But
just
the
walks the
key
fuck
part
away.
was the way he said it was how he said it.
No,
Because
yeah,
honestly,
he didn't forgive
I
her.
hold her
Yeah,
almost as responsible as the man who tortured her.
reasonable,
Topa,
reasonable.
yes.
I would say that's reasonable.
From a perspective of father, that's where I would have thought.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. But yeah, I was like, I get why Bordis responded that way. It was like, you know, okay, you apologize, good on you, you apologize, but like, That doesn't
You
seem
put my
exact-
son, you put my child, you put my daughter, my
Yeah,
baby in jeopardy for
Mhm.
your personal gain, your
yeah,
personal cause. No,
yeah,
I'm not going to forgive you for that.
yeah. That was fucking wrong. And I'm not
Mhm.
sure Borges will ever forgive her. I I mean, like, I'm one of these guys is like, I hope like over time everyone forgives everyone at least. But
Right.
That's going to have a.
I get why Borges is acting the way he does with her.
Well, the way Ed said it to Havana was, she's like, Havana's trying to justify it and say, well, I just told her and she said yes. And he's like, of course she said yes.
She
She
idolizes you, yeah.
worships you. She would have
In
said yes to anything.
in
And
her
that's
eyes, she
when I
doesn't
said,
understand that, like, she doesn't understand that Havina is is can make mistakes. I want to say human, but she's not human.
Right.
But she's imperfect. She can make mistakes just like any other person. Like, we make this mistake of putting fallible people on, pedestals a lot of time, and
Yes,
that's
exactly.
exactly what Havina is on to Topaz. Like, she's on the pedestal. She's on the highest pedestal. You know, um, you know, maybe next to like Kelly and Papa, but
She's got
um,
a huge worship over her. Yes.
right. But she's also, I think she's too young to really understand that, like, those people can also be fallible. They can make mistakes. They can get you in trouble if you know if you don't have common sense.
when Ed said, what the hell were you thinking? The way he was talking, I was like, wow, that was a Picard moment, I thought.
That was a Picard moment. I mean, that's exactly what Picard would do. What the hell are you think? Like, it's like that literally
Mhm.
comes. I could hear it from his mouth. What the hell are you thinking?
I mean,
You,
I
you
literally was
put
like,
a
oh
child
shit,
in
he's
danger. Like,
channeling.
I could totally see Picard. You put a child in danger. How about Barrack? Like,
Yeah, it was so amazing. I was like, he's like, what the hell were you thinking? And I'm
Mhm.
thinking, holy shit, is he going Picard right now? I mean, that
Mhm.
was literally in the moment I thought that. And I was like,
I
oh
mean,
my God, he's
I didn't
going
even think that
Picard
he went
right now.
Picard. I didn't even think that he went Picard at that point. But like, you make a good point. Like, he does sound like what something like Picard would say.
Yes, he
Um,
does.
because I mean, Picard, he respected people's religions, their struggles, and everything, just like Ed does. But then, like, this person crossed the line,
Mhm.
right?
Think of it a
And
little like
he was
when,
he was
think of it a
always
little like
able
when,
to call it
think
out.
of it a little like when Worf killed Duras.
Hmm.
And he said, I acted within Klingon law.
Sure.
Yes, you did. But you did not act within Federation law,
Hmm.
kind of thing.
Right.
And, he had to tell him, and you didn't act according as a Starfleet officer. And
Mhm.
he put a reprimand on his report
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah. Exactly. So, but yeah, what the hell of an episode.
Wow,
I
it was
know,
pretty.
I know, man. How the hell haven't? Hopefully, we'll get some good news out of San Diego in a few days.
Hopefully
Yes.
tomorrow, because that's when that panel is. Um,
Are you
yeah,
going?
I don't have passes to the actual Comic Con, so I can't. I'm not going to the convention center. I'm not going to be at any of the official panels or nothing like that. I'm going to outside events.
Ah,
I'm doing outside events. And here's the thing: uh, during Comic Con, all of downtown San Diego transforms into, like, there's parties everywhere with like random celebrities out there. I've got to meet the Mythbusters at a party. I got to meet Mike Tyson. I got to, like, um other artists and shit like that. There's a lot of shit that goes on
well,
downtown
as far as I know,
that has nothing to do with Comic Con,
as far as I mean, I've never been there, but all
other than
I
the
know
geeky
is
aspect.
all I know is all I know really is I've never been to San Diego Comic Con. All I know is that's where everything really starts.
Well, that's where they
That's where
usually
all the
wait.
big announcements really come from.
Yeah, yeah. There will be a 10 forward and a movies in downtown San Diego. I'm not
I
going.
do want to say this.
I'm not going to the 10 Ford because it's not the TNG 10 Ford. It's the Picard 10 Ford.
Right.
But I will be hanging out at movies this weekend
Yes.
one of the
in my
one
couch
of
at
the
Veron.
things one of the things I've noticed is I've never seen on anything before social media or during social media the so many memes, and I've done them myself. Yeah, I'm that drunk. Renew the Orville, renew the Orville, renew the Orville.
Oh,
Hashtag
we gotta
renew the
play that.
Orville.
We gotta
Yes, I
play
have
that.
that.
You gotta play that thing before we go off air.
Yes, I have it. I have it, darling. I have it ready to go.
You know,
I think I really believe we're going to get some good news this weekend. I
you know.
really believe.
Here,
I
here's
don't
the
think it's possible we are not.
here's the thing. They put up some big like Orville stuff up inside the convention center at Com. They got this huge Orville poster, and then they have this huge like long Orville poster like in this other area I know of. And then they have a full Orville panel in Ballroom 20, which is the second largest room to Hall H. Hall H holds like twice as many people. But yeah, Ballroom 20 is like, I mean, like that's like one of the more famous rooms in the convention center.
And I know that a lot of people are like, why aren't they saying it? Well, they're contractually probably obligated to
Oh,
not say it.
that's not up to them. That's up to the executives at Disney or Hulu or whoever's fucking controlling them now.
Right. Exactly.
But this season, I mean, everything about the season, I didn't think they could beat the Tale of Two Topas. I really didn't.
I will make a note of this. Every single episode of the Orville that includes Topa, I mean like that includes Topa in an actual like plot, has been really fucking good.
Yeah.
The first one was about a girl. That was
And then,
that was the episode where I was like, like they did it. They these guys know how to make a Star Trek episode. Holy crap! I want to stick with these guys. You know.
yeah, I thought Tale of Two Topas was about as Star Trek, was about as pure Star Trek as you can get.
It was. It
Mm-hmm.
totally was because I mean, you have somebody who was born a certain way and then was altered, but
Without
then
their consent.
without their consent as a baby. And so now as a teenager, they're having identity issues.
Yep.
Yeah, and when she started talking about that in Tale of Two Topas, I was like, oh boy, I know things are. And then we get this episode, and I was just like, holy shit. But
I,
here's the thing. I actually, this was kind of a, if you look at the trailer, it was almost a bait and switch, but it was done in a good way. We thought this was going to be maybe a little bit different, but
yeah, I was thinking that they were going after they were going after either Topa or Havina. I knew there was that treaty, so it was like they weren't going to bring Topa to the sanctuary. Um, so like unless they wanted to break the tweet, there could have been a thing where they tried to break. I wasn't sure, but like the way they ended up doing it, it's like, oh, okay, well it could have gone either way, but the way it
yeah,
happened,
exactly.
yeah, the way they did it was, okay, we're gonna have Havina put Topa in danger, not on purpose, but then
Right.
she gets stubborn about it at first, and then Dolly Parton has to fucking calm her down and get her to.
Yes. Change your ways, and darling, what you is doing is not right.
Yeah. So
Just
anyway,
she just put on a little southern charm.
oh no,
Oh,
that was a hell of a lot of stuff to try because like I had to like I had to like watch that again later on because I wanted to see how like she got Havina from like all defensive and stuff to just like sitting down and like wanting to listen to what she has to say. It's like
yes.
yeah, I wanted to see that transition better. It was just like you're right. It was Southern charm. It was that Southern charm.
Mhm.
Well, she also did not show any judgment.
And she doesn't.
I
You're
think
right.
she was. I think what Havina was thinking was Ed was going to try and manipulate her
Right.
into thinking this is what Dolly would want, and all Dolly did was, well, she was just all Dolly.
Right. And she didn't judge her. She wasn't like, you should do this, you should do that. You're a bad person if you don't do this. You know what I mean? It's like that's something that oh my god, like modern television does so much nowadays.
Hells, new Star Trek would kill to have these kind of stories.
By the way, did you hear William Shatner, Kevin Smith told Kevin Smith that he uh, he thinks that if Gene Roddenberry were still alive, he'd or you know, like he'd not he said he'd roll in his grave, not
Yep, yes, of course I did. Oh, you think that didn't make all the rounds on the internet at this point? Yeah, we all heard that. Yeah, that was
And remember,
the.
this is William Shatner. This isn't me saying it. I've said it hundreds of times.
Yeah, this is the Shat.
But this is the Shatner. This is the man that actually knew Gene Roddenberry, worked with Gene Roddenberry for 3 years at least. Actually, longer than that since they ended up making movies. Um, like so they knew each other. He knew Gene Roddenberry's motivation and vision. You know what I mean? Um, and also he's been to space.
Hmm.
The one nice thing about the Orville is they actually learned a few things from Star Trek, but
Yes,
they have the advantage of having a completely clean slate.
they do. They do. And because of that, I think they they've kind of surpassed Star Trek at this point.
Hmm. They're in their own brand, yes,
They
now.
Yeah,
they are. Uh,
like people try to keep saying like, oh, this is still like TNG lighter or whatever. Like,
No, no,
no.
no, no, no,
No,
no,
no, no,
no.
no, no, no. I'm sorry. We went past TNG. We've already gone to DS9
this
territory.
is DS9 territory. I think this is actually beyond DS9 territory.
Yes, it is. It's technically
Like
its
I think
whole.
maybe like the first episode was DS9 ish, but then like everything else after that, like
Well,
wow,
yeah, they the thing is, here's the great thing. We waited 3 fucking years.
and for 3 years they told us that it would be worth it. It would be worth the
Because
And
wait.
they were right.
They were
And
one
well,
hundred
I'm
percent
gonna say
right.
I'm gonna say this.
yes,
We're
yes.
8. We are 8. Well, okay, let me get my hands right. What look, but fuck it. I'm drunk. We're 8 out of 10 episodes in. And yes, this has been worth it. We only have 2 episodes left, and it's been worth the wait. Seth MacFarlane and the entire team has just done an amazing fucking job. They are not just the we used to call them when we first saw Orville, it was the we called it the um what was the word?
Family Guy in space.
Yes.
Yeah,
Space.
originally it's Family Guy, and then we started to say this is the baton pass off. This is the new kind of Star Trek.
Hmm.
But the fact that they don't have the weight of all the other series on them, they don't have the 725 episodes and movies all on them. They had a clean slate, and they are doing, in my opinion, if Gene Roddenberry's like this, would be he'd be like this is better than any. This
Gene
is what I
Roddenberry
would.
would quit Star Trek and try and start a contract with Seth MacFarlane.
Yes. You say, oh, where have you been, my protege, all my life? Where have you been?
Well, he
But
was on Enterprise, but unfortunately, Gene Roddenberry was
well,
I
passed
know.
by
away
then
since
he had
then.
already, yeah.
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 Ensign Rivers, that's who he was.
Yes. He was indeed.
Yes, folks. Seth MacFarlane was an ensign on the no, not the Enterprise, the Columbia, but it was Star Trek Enterprise.
Well, he started on the Enterprise, and then he was transferred to the Columbia.
Columbia.
Correct.
Now, the
But I,
Enterprise NX-01, not the one we all know and
The
admire.
prequel stuff, basically, with Scott Bakula.
Yeah,
Oh,
which like I don't hate that anymore. Like
no, it's decent. You gotta have faith of the heart for that one.
when I first saw it, I had I had very little, like when it first came out, very little interest in watching it. Like I watched the first couple episodes, I was like, I don't know, something's not right about this, and so I stopped watching it. But then like on the rewatch, like when I was going through all the Star Trek stuff, I was like, well, this, I mean, okay, this there are a lot of problems with it, but it's actually not that bad. And I
could you
really
imagine?
okay.
Could you imagine Star Trek stories with the visuals of Orville? Oh God!
Oh jeez. Oh, bring back the original writers. Have all of the original writers. Have them just come up with a couple new episodes, and then just have it with. I mean, bring.
Yeah, but I mean, think about
Especially for the spice.
yeah, but think about this: the scenery of the nebula was just so beautiful.
Right.
It was like, oh
They
my God!
something
And
they
then, like
really
you
couldn't
said,
do back
Jack,
then.
the detail they're doing, the detail we're seeing more of the Orville and the ship. It's like, I noticed that too. I'm like, I'm seeing a lot more lines.
I will say this. I do think part of it is just like they did have 3 years to revamp the entire visuals, which they definitely used to their benefit. Um, they definitely did. When I first saw the new theme song, like with the new visuals and everything, it was so inspiring. It was just like, oh my god.
Yes,
It's
definitely.
really been it's really been a fantastic season for us geeks.
It has, and I'm going to be very sad when it's done. Um, the only thing that'll make me happy about it almost being done is if tomorrow they make a major announcement.
Yes.
Here's my fingers crossed. I'm just like I said, I've never seen, and I know it's people in our circles, but even people outside of our circles, it's hashtag renew the Orville, renew the Orville, renew the Orville. I've never seen this for something.
It's trending.
It is. It's been doing that trend for weeks.
And I've never seen this before. Not this intensity. I've seen shows canceled and then, renews go through and that kind of campaign goes. But
Seth
the whole,
MacFarlane
it's
does
like, but
Did
the
that
whole
with-
point is we're all like, when you going to tell us it's renewed? Yo, are you out of your goddamn mind? If you lose this show, you're a fucking idiot.
This is the best storytelling in television right now. My opinion. You can disagree with me. That's fine. Just in my opinion, this is the best writing on television right now.
And it was worth waiting for. It really was. I mean,
It was definitely worth waiting for.
Yes. It was.
Yeah, in my opinion, this has been a masterpiece of sci-fi writing, directing, acting, just damn near perfection. There maybe after I watch it 20, 30 times, I'll find some flaws, but
I'm sure there's definitely flaws, but
they're incidental.
The way I see it is like this: when you first watch it, if you care enough about the story that you ignore the flaws, you just don't notice them at first, then that's a good story.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
when I watch Discovery, something I don't give a shit about, I pick up all the flaws the first time I see them because I don't care about the story. I'm
Yeah, but I
and
mean, think about
because like I'm a like I got a filmmaker's mind, suddenly I just nitpick the fuck out of it.
and as someone who thinks on a logical standpoint, but also an emotional standpoint, when when Klein shows up, and I'm like, oh, thank God, and I'm like, that's why I put that out there. When I put out a tweet where I said, you know, people don't understand. Conservatives like this stuff. And because this is what we really believe, this is tolerance. This is geek culture at its finest. Even when we have mistakes, we try to move on from them. And that moment between Clyde and Topa, for me, as a father who went through something in a way similar, just that whole "I love you, Papa."
I'm glad she responded that way.
Yes, I am too.
She could have been
Bitter.
angry, very bitter about it as a teenager could rightfully be, you know, but she chose forgiveness. She chose I love you, Papa. I love that. That was
She,
great.
yes, it was fantastic moment because she could see in her father's eyes he showed remorse. He really felt it. And I think the fact that he finally said, he admitted, I didn't know how to live with you.
Yeah.
That I think the Clyden admitting those things, for a man to admit those emotions to even his own daughter takes a lot for
Yeah.
us to admit, especially to a young child, that I was wrong. I
Hmm.
was wrong.
Yep.
And that's hard because we try to put on this thing that we're always right, we're always strong, we're always the thing. And then if we screw up and do something stupid like Klein did and walk away and then come back and it's like, oh my God. But once Clyde knew, boom, I was like, oh, please God, let that be Clyde coming through. I literally was like, please God, let that be Clyde coming through that door.
I got emotional.
I
I
know
did
I.
too.
Yeah.
I know I can.
Yeah.
It was, I cried, I got angry, I've laughed, I've gotten pissed, I've gotten emotional, I've gotten controversial with some episodes, and I'm like, this is what good writing is.
It is. You're right. It makes you feel all sorts of ways because by now they've hooked you on the characters. You're attached to the characters. It you know and now it's just about taking you on these adventures.
Hmm.
Like whether it's um Topa realizing that she's a female, she wants to be a female, or Isaac realizing that he really does love Claire and wants
Hmm.
to care for her and her children and everything. Like that put us all in sort of some sort of emotional state
Hmm.
because we've had all this time to really bond with the characters. Even Isaac, who fucked up, made a big mistake. Um,
Well said. Well said.
yeah, and and to see him a redeem himself by being the person who uh, detransitions Topa, to that 5 minute scene, 5 minute scene where they gave him feelings and put Claire and him in the simulator, and oh my god, that whole speech.
Yes.
It
Yes.
was
It was.
heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking, and I really don't like. I don't like the comparison to when Data got his emotional chip from the first from Star Trek Generations that I've seen, because I'm like, no, there's no comparison.
No, I don't see.
Mm-mm.
Okay, they both thought that what their emotion, their emotional state, they were both overwhelmed by their emotions. But the difference was, like, Data took it as a malfunction. Like, suddenly, like, there was a time where there was a point where he was laughing like so loud, like he can control himself
Right.
because he got a joke from 7 years before, and he does, and he's going to Picard, and he's like, I can't do this. I'm too emotional. I need to be relieved of duty. Whereas whereas uh, um Isaac, all he feels is love for Claire. It's overwhelming, sure, because like he's got to get used to how feelings feel. But there's one thing that's very clear about anything else that he feels, and it's his love for Claire and her boys.
Yes. And he's embracing that moment.
And he took full advantage of that moment. Like, bought her this beautiful dress, told her to come to dinner. Um, by the by the way, like, kudos on that dress, like,
It
beautiful
was
dress.
beautiful. And that's right.
Now
When
think
he
about
said,
this. Think
yes.
about this. He knew to pick a dress she would like.
Exactly. Now he knew. Yeah, exactly. And so
I
like,
mean, how many guys can pull that off? You really have to love
I'm
the
not even
person
sure if I
and
could
know
pull that
them.
off. I
Well,
mean,
in
no, no.
my
I know
case, in
this. I
my
know this.
case, I
If
would
I
know.
if I got her a screen used Orville costume, I'm sure she'll love that.
Well, for like my wife Rachel, I would know to get a purple dress, but I've had 15 years to know my wife,
Sure.
and he
We
was
haven't even
able to.
been together for 1 year yet.
Almost a year, though.
11
Almost.
months. 11 months.
Yes. Just a
How would
couple
you
weeks
guys
ago.
rate? How would you guys have rated the episode? Because I pretty much give it a 10 out of 10, almost.
A 20 out of 10.
I gotta agree with you. 10 out of 10. Like, this is, and
Good.
it's one of those things where, like, I've got to, like, reevaluate every time, because it's like, as soon as well, I think it was like the one before Tale of Two Topas came out, I was like, that's my favorite one. And then Tale of Two Topas came out.
Each
That's my
time you
favorite one.
switch it,
And then,
each time it's your favorite.
And then
Each,
Midnight Blue comes out, and it's like, what the fuck?
oh no, this is my favorite. Like, yeah, like,
let's just say all of them are your favorite now, darling. Just say that. Come
well, I
on.
mean,
Don't
I
say,
mean, let's be honest. We haven't seen all the episodes. I can't really tell you which one's my
I
favorite
know
yet.
what you mean, but yes.
But I mean, that's how I feel, though. It's like, that's how I feel. It's
I
like,
know.
this is my
I
favorite.
When
get it.
was Can I ask a question? When was the last time you felt this invested in a show and characters? I know when my last time was. It was when Sons of Anarchy was on. I was very invested in that show. I was very invested in the characters. This is completely different from Sons of Anarchy, but the emotions are still powerful. And it's like, I just feel this. I feel anger. I feel for fictional characters. I'm like, it's been a long time since I felt that way.
True.
Yeah.
Mm,
Um, I'm trying to think now. I don't think I was that invested in a TV show. It was like, before this, it was like bands. Maybe
mm.
maybe just TNG before, like initial, like nah. In between that, I was really into TNG because I got into Picard, specifically Picard. Uh, um, I I learned the ins and outs of why Picard is who he is, and I liked it, and I wanted to adapt it into my own life. His philosophies. He felt like
Hmm.
one of the most moral people that I mean, like you
Yes.
think that a person in real life is moral, right? And then you turn out
Yep.
like once again you misjudge them like Havina and stuff like that. Like Havina makes a mistake. Now here's the thing: it's a lot harder for that to happen with fictional characters. You can actually idolize a fictional character
Hmm.
because in a lot of cases they are exactly what you think they are because that's how they were written, that's how they were. Picard was written to be at first he was very strict,
Hmm.
and then over the seasons and movies he loses that he loses that edginess that he had, like that where it was like he would alienate his own crew members because he was trying not to socialize, fraternize, whatever, right? uh by the end of that, like he was like playing cards with them, he was joking around with them,
Hmm.
you know, probably even flirting with Beverly, who knows? Yeah, so you know what I mean. uh,
I like what Jeff B said. Alienation. I love that series back in the day. For those of you who don't know, one of the main characters from Alienation was the guy who played the Vulcan ambassador on Enterprise.
ah,
Oh, okay.
nice.
I don't remember his name off the top of my head. Sorry.
I know.
Look, you want to talk TOS, you want to talk TNG,
You're hey,
DS9. I'm hands down. I got
That's
that shit.
you're
Voyager
you're
and Enterprise, I'm
you're right.
still trying to get caught up on.
You're
I've
right.
seen them all, but I haven't seen them like I've seen the other shows.
Right.
B5, I have. I love B5. Oh, that was a good one too. It's just been an amazing ride, and it was worth the wait. It was worth the 3 years. It really was.
I agree. It was so worth it. I mean,
It feels like they put
we,
their
I,
heart and
I think we got maybe 3 hours of Orville left because, like, I think the next two are just about as long.
I think so. Sounds about right. And then we still got the novella too.
Even though there's two episodes, it's probably going to be 3 hours long total. And yes, after that we have that novella, which I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna wait until after I watch everything, and then I'm gonna like
Right.
very slowly read it
Yes,
because
exactly.
even if they do renew it for a fourth season, well, it's still gonna take a whole fucking year for them to like write everything, film everything, edit everything. Yeah, so it's gonna take time. It's still gonna take time, and well, I need to be held over by something, right?
you went there. You went there, Alicia. You went there.
What with Smallville?
No, with bringing up Chloe. You know where that actor is, right?
That's her nickname.
Oh,
Oh,
I thought
that's
you were talking
Watchtower.
Miss
about from the
Watchtower's
show.
Chloe. Miss
Yeah,
Watchtower's Chloe.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I knew who
Wa-
you meant. Allison Magno.
Watch.
And
I think Watchtower is actually the reference of
Ah,
something.
well, Oracle was taken.
Oracle. They have yet to do an Oracle yet.
They'll Well, the only time they've ever done Oracle is in Birds of Prey, and that was way back in the 90s. For anybody who knows that show. And unfortunately, it only lasted one season. It was called Birds of Prey.
I remember that
Yeah.
one.
And actually, I was jonesing for that because I love Barbara Gordon. Think she's a hell of a character. And
Hmm.
actually, as Batgirl was one thing because she was the original Batgirl, but her actually being Oracle really She took her disability after the Joker shot her and made it a strength for her. She focused solely on her intelligence and became a valuable asset to the Batman family.
Well, she was
More as
already
Oracle that
yeah, but then like she found a new place. Yeah, I do think that we've kind of strayed away from the main topic. I think we're kind of done with it. Like we should probably.
But I'm going to show you guys this wonderful renew video that Jack made for you guys to see that before we wrap up tonight.
Yes. So thank you, everyone.
And sit back and enjoy.
I'll see you guys next week after I've met with everyone at Comic-Con.
Yes. Have a good weekend, everybody, and we will see you guys next Friday. Same time, same place, same people. Good night, everyone.
Channel.
Don't touch that dial.
nice.